What's up guys? Welcome back to the fourth part of my gunfight tips and tricks series. In this video we're going to be covering the third map, which is Haus. Haus was actually added pretty recently with Season 2 Reloaded back in March, but as most of you know, it's not a new map. Haus is based on the original Haus that was added back in Vanguard. Technically it is a 6v6 map, and in this game obviously we get the sloppy seconds again as gunfight players. The fact that it's 6v6 does carry some implications on how it's played in gunfight, which of course we're going to jump into right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really appreciate the support, and let's get it. Alright, so as you can see, we're on Haus. Looking at the tech map, you can see that Haus is, I would say, like 95% symmetrical. There are some key differences here and there that we'll jump into later, but in general, it is pretty symmetrical. The map has, I would say, three main lanes. You have the mid lane, of course, and then you have the outer lanes, either left or right from each spawn point. And the way that I want to structure this video is kind of showing you guys how I approach spawning on the blue side and on the orange side separately. Starting off on orange side, you can either spawn on the inside of the mid lane or the outside. And the first thing that I immediately want to discuss, like I did on black side as well, is kind of the triage, let's say, of spawn peeking. 99% of the rounds on Haus always start like this. You just jump mid and try to get some shots on the enemy. There's not really too many ways to go about this. Neither side has any good cover or anything. Some people like try to mount on these walls. You can try that, but honestly it doesn't really work that much. So usually as soon as the round starts, people just immediately start challenging this lane. But this is a very important moment, not only to get some damage or even a kill early on, but also to see what the enemy is doing. There's basically a couple different situations as soon as you peek mid, and they're really important to know how the round is going to flow. The first, and I would say most typical situation, is as soon as you challenge, one guy is challenging you and his teammate already crosses to the other side. And then you basically know, like, okay, I'm either committing to this gunfight or I'm gonna back off and probably head to inside here. And I already know his teammate is gonna be on that side somewhere. Second situation, you peek mid and you don't see anyone, then it's highly likely that they're both heading inside this area right here. And then thirdly, you kind of have the gray zone where sometimes you challenge them and both of them are challenging you, or one guy is sitting on either of these two headies or whatever. Describing these situations is especially important if you're used to playing with a regular teammate that you communicate a lot with, because as soon as the round starts, like the first 3 seconds on Haus are so important to have an idea of, is someone crossing, is someone not crossing, to let your teammate know if they can expect a gunfight. Because usually as soon as I peek this, I already know my teammate's heading up that side, up to mid. And if I see someone cross right there, I might get a shot off, I might not, but I'm already gonna tell them, make sure that you check that angle because someone's gonna be running through there. So that being said, again, if I'm the one spawning on the inside, I'll usually challenge mid right here. If I get a couple shots off or some damage or even a kill, what I'll usually do is, depending if someone crossed or not, I will usually push into this building. Something really important to keep in mind is right here, as soon as you push through this doorway, that right there, people laying down next to the blue, like, kind of rebar stuff is super common.
Clear the area or require the backup.
It's especially important if you peek mid and you see no one peeking back at you, that you already know that they're going to be holding this side. Chances are really high that someone's going to be ratting on that spot or like hanging onto these walls or whatever. So make sure that you tread carefully as soon as you enter this doorway, because from here on out they usually have a drop on you. Pushing up through these buildings then, there's not really that much to talk about. I mean, yeah, you have these head glitches, you can get on top of these tables, but there's not really that much like exciting going on here. Honestly, even going into this room then, again, you can mantle this, but that's kind of pointless. Usually if I choose to move through these buildings, I usually just rush all the way into their spawn to check where else the other guy is hanging out. The general thing I recommend when you push through these buildings is keep in mind that Haus is one of the rattier maps, I would say, in gunfight, so just make sure you check every single corner. People find the most creative ways to camp in here. So yeah, people definitely sit in all of these corners, so keep those in mind. Always check your corners, even pushing all the way into their spawn, like right here. I've had it happen where people sit on this little ledge and just hold you right here. Same thing with these spawn areas. This is blue side right now, but you also have them on the orange side. In general, it's just good practice to keep these spots in mind. If you're playing like a really ratty Haus match and you have no idea where they're hiding, always check these little corners. So a couple more things to talk about on this side then. First of all, a specific situation with a nice angle to counter it. Let's say you peek mid right here, you barely win a gunfight or you get some damage but don't get the kill and you're really weak and you don't see anyone cross. 99% of the time, I can tell you their teammate is rushing all the way through here. So what I would recommend, instead of waiting here for them to push through, is get on top of these toilets, lay down, and then you have a perfect view of this little walkthrough area right here. And it's a really good way to catch them off guard, because as you can see running through here, that's not really an angle that you're going to be paying attention to. So that's a good way to get the drop on people blindly rushing in here. Another situation on this side is, let's say you jump out, you see someone cross but they don't challenge you, and the other guy is not peeking you. What you can always try to do is get a quick kill right here. Maybe they're holding you, maybe they're rushing. If you get this kill, I would usually suggest pushing out here onto these green like munitions boxes, and then you have a good view of this side of the map so you can support your teammate if the other guy is pushing through here. So that's kind of it for that rush route. One last thing I want to show you guys is mid right here. You have these boxes. If you jump on top of this, you actually have like a kind of angle that you can hold from spawn, or even for this doorway right here. It's not that useful. I'll show you guys right now. This side is actually much better because on top of these barrels, you have a perfect view of that doorway right there, but you still have some cover from this barrel. It's just something to think about. You can hold people. If you know someone's like riding on that side of the map and you know your teammate had this side covered, you can just hold them from here. Moving on to the other spawn point on this side then, usually if I spawn here 99% of the time, I'm just gonna be pushing straight through there. You can peek mid with your teammate, but I don't really do that often, and especially if I'm playing with Car Team, for example, I just wait for his call out if someone crossed or not, and then I will already know if I can expect a gunfight there or not. Pushing through here, what I'll usually do is kind of pause on this white container right here, because these doorways are a good way to check if someone's rushing through that side, so you can get some damage or even a kill. And then if I know someone crossed to the other side as well, I'll usually just use this box as cover to see if they're pushing out or not, and maybe get a kill or not. One of the big asymmetrical things on Das Haus is this head glitch right here, and it's actually pretty powerful if you think about it. So first off, you can see this mid room right here in between these pipes, but if you just move over a little bit, you can also see into their spawn right there. If I hear that they cross, but I don't see them right here, then I'm fully prepared to just challenge this doorway right here. They're gonna be holding this angle, guaranteed, usually, or they're gonna be sitting in one of these corners. Again, it's Das Haus, so you never know, but 99% of the time, if they cross but you don't see them running out there, they're gonna be like angling this shit, so be prepared for that. A little cheeky angle that you can use on this side as well is jumping on top of this little barrier and then kind of inch your way outward, and if these windows are broken, you can see you can actually hold this angle from right here. It is kind of tricky to get into this position really quickly because, you know, any wrong move can just let you fall off the map, but it is kind of a cheeky angle to hold. I would usually do this in like later in the round if I know they have to cap or something. It's like a good oddball angle to catch them off of. You are really exposed, but if you know they're on this side of the map, it can be a cheeky angle. That actually works on this side as well, and even better so because you have a lot better view inside. So right here you can do exactly the same. If you know people are hiding back in the spawn, you know they're gonna be pushing up to cap the flag or whatever, holding this angle is a really good idea because they'll just not see it coming. Lastly then, for orange side, I guess I should talk a little bit about this little stairway area. This is just a really ratty spot. People sit here a lot. There's not really that much you can do about it. I would say always check your corners. It's pretty easy to get nades in here, so if you know someone's in here, just nade them out. There is one really disgusting angle that you can hold, is if you lay down right here and you just shove a little bit to the side, you see you can like hold spawn into this little box angle right here. If you know they're back spawn and they're gonna be pushing up to cap the flag, it could be a really comp angle, I guess, but yeah, depends on your playstyle, but yeah, this exists, I'll just say that. Alright, so moving on to the blue side then, my advice here is basically the same to start off with as the other side, is always do a little bit of triage. As soon as you peek mid, just check it out. Someone's crossing, someone isn't crossing, and basically kind of structure the situations in your head, if you will. If I peek mid here and I don't see anyone peeking back at me, 99% of the time they're both pushing up that side. In that case, I'll just send it straight mid and hold these barrels, and you have a perfect view of this doorway. Usually it's a really quick double kill. You can also hop on this as I showed you guys and have this barrelless head glitch. This is usually what I do if I don't see anyone peeking mid. On this side, it doesn't really happen that often that I immediately cross and run through there, simply because I just always challenge mid. If no one's challenging mid, I just push up to this head glitch. I might cross as quickly as possible if I know that the enemy just has insane accuracy, that I know that I'm gonna be outgunned every single time. Then I will just straight up cross and then immediately push up to the yellow side right here, as I told you guys. So here it's the same story. As soon as you're here, you can just hold that side, see if anyone's crossing or not, and then also hold the doorway right there. If I spawn on the inside, then what I'll usually do again is if I know that the person that I'm playing with is gonna be peeking mid, I'm just usually just straight up sending it to their spawn. As soon as I get into this doorway right here, that's where I'm gonna slow it down, because they might be sound whoring me, they might be angling me, so I just usually ADS walk, check my corners right here, and then just boom, challenge to spawn. Usually they don't really see this coming if they're too busy challenging mid or whatever. So yeah, that's usually how I go about that side. Of course, on this side as well, you have these spawn areas. Interesting to know is that you can wallbang this. So if you know someone's like ratting in these corners, you can actually wallbang all of this as well. So the complete barrels and this wall together, you can wallbang all of this. If I know the opponent is gonna quickly cross, then I might also hold this angle right here. As I told you guys, this is a really ratty angle, but I mean, it's a good one. If I get a kill right here, usually I'll just push up immediately to these head glitches right here and yeah, hold the other opponent from that doorway as well. Usually they're gonna be there. So yeah, support the teammate on that side. All right, moving on to flag then. So the flag spawns right here, and a couple things that I want to tell you guys already is later on in the round, if you're weak, 99% of the time people are going to be laying here. This is a really typical place for people ratting it out. If they know you're going to have to cap, people lay here so many times, if it's on this side or the other side, kind of depending on where the map control is. Let's say you were on the outside and you have to cap, then 99% of the time they're gonna be inside here somewhere just waiting for you. Maybe behind this head glitch, they can just pop up and shoot you as soon as you start capturing. They can be in the spawns as well, just waiting for you to cap to jump out and shoot at you. That's the hard thing about capturing on Das Haus, is that the flag is really exposed, so flag baiting is difficult on this map, simply because, yeah, you're just out in the open here, and usually you don't really have an idea where the opponent is going to be hiding. As I said, again and again, Das Haus is a really ratty map, so yeah, just always check your corners. So on the other hand then, if you know that they have to cap, it's in your advantage, because there's 1 million places to hide on this map, so yeah, that's in your advantage then, I guess. There are also a couple cool nade spots that I want to show you guys. So let's say you're on this side of the map and you know the opponent has to capture the flag, but you're also really weak, so you don't really want to challenge him. It's actually on this rebar block right here. If you line up this beam right here in the middle of these two little poles, I would say, if you just go all the way into the corner, look straight up, and then pull out your nade, as you'll see, it just ends up on flag. Sometimes it hits the rooftops or like this little beam right here, but 99% of the time it does hit. You can actually do the same on this side as well. So if you run into this part right here, back up into this corner, line up your crosshairs with this beam, and then just throw your nade almost vertically, you'll see that also hits the flag pretty well. Then inside both of these corridors, so on this one but also the orange one, you have a nade spot for flag. So if you back up into this corner, kind of line yourself up with the corner of that wall, just straight up in the air. You can throw it through the tarp, and as you'll see, that's also perfect. And then the same thing on this side, so if you back up into this corner, line it up with that corner, straight up in the air, through the tarp. There you go. And then one last bonus thing I want to show you guys for the people that like going for 360s and trick shots and whatever. This is something that Karthim and I have been trying to hit for a while, so I want to challenge you guys as well to see if you can hit it. Let's say the opponent is weak and they have to capture the flag. What Karthim and I have been trying is standing on this little windowsill, and as soon as we hear the prompt that they are starting to capture, we just jump out and try to hit them like that. We haven't hit it yet, but we've been trying it so many times. Pretty much every single time we get Das Haus, we try it. So I want to challenge you guys as well, if you can hit it. All right, so that's gonna do it for Das Haus. Honestly, there's not really that much to do on this map. The annoying thing is obviously that it's a 6v6 leftover, so in my opinion, it's a little bit too big for Gunfight. It's a little bit too ratty for Gunfight. You know, you have way too many rooms and corners. It's definitely not my favorite. It's not the worst either, but yeah, I hope you guys learned something new. See you guys in the next one. I really appreciate it.